rest of my life, Georgia.
Greetings and welcome in, everyone.
To the roller coaster ride where
It is Overreaction Monday, and what an exciting weekend of college football. Man, it was good to turn the TV on and see football from Thursday night, and there's still football going on tonight as the Fighting Bill Belichick's will play tonight, and so that'll be an exciting game to watch. But man, what a fun weekend! Not only because of Georgia winning 45-7 over Marshall, but I'm sure as everybody turned on their TVs, the first thing that came to mind was, we finally get a chance to see all the hype from the summer. What is Georgia going to look like? What's the offense going to look like? What's the defense going to look like? What's Gunnar Stockton going to look like? What's Bobo's play calling going to look like? Are we going to run the football effectively? Is the line play going to be better? Is the defense going to stop the run? You name it. I'm sure every single fan had an expectation from the weekend playing against Marshall. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the good. We're going to talk about some of the things that obviously can improve as we get into the season coming off of week one. We're also going to do an Around the SEC. Overreaction Monday is going to be a show based off of just looking around the SEC, talking about games that some went good, some went bad, and then obviously the big overview of Georgia. And so, as we get started tonight, we'll start with Georgia because I'm sure that everybody coming off the weekend. First off, as you look at injuries, so some of the bigger injuries and some of the ones that weren't talked about, some of the ones that were talked about. So Juan Gaston, obviously, if you guys have followed any of any of the podcast stuff on Apple Podcast, Dogs Down South YouTube, and any of the past shows, we've mentioned that Juan Gaston was a name to remember. He was probably going to be, a true freshman starting at right guard. He did. We weren't really able to see what the offense could be like with him in there much because, as you saw, he left off on his own power. That's good news. And headed to the sidelines. And Kirby's notes about Juan Gaston were, we don't know if it's an ankle. We don't know if it's, high ankle. We don't know. We don't know much at all. I think they requested an MRI. Typically, we would have Kirby's presser today, but today being Labor Day, we don't have it. So, as we look at that, all we can kind of say is what could have been with Juan Gaston was not much of. Now, I don't know if Juan Gaston would have seen a ton of playing time. I mean, obviously, when you look at the starters and what they were able to accomplish, he might not have been in there much at all anyway. But overall, not good news. But good news is backups coming in. Daniel Calhoun, Michael Uini, that came in. We ran the ball in extremely effective. Now, granted, it was Marshall. Marshall lost over 70 to 80% of their roster, and that's not to say that Marshall didn't have some players, and it wasn't exactly like they were fielding like a high school team out there. They were. I mean, they're going to win some games this year. I don't know how many, but we also were kind of in a crunch, needed a game. I think this is still a little bit of backlash from trying to recover from the Oklahoma scenario when we had Oklahoma as a home and away, and then we had to take them off because when they joined the SEC, that had to become an out of conference game, which it wasn't anymore, and so we were forced to fill some of those games with people like Austin P, Marshall, things of that nature. So that's kind of where we landed. Other injury updates. I know there was a lot of speculation, and we've also broken on our midweek show about Jonel Aguero. Looks like Jonel was fine. He played a good bit of the game, so nothing to really write home about with Joel. However, Dalen Everett was not did not play. He was in uniform. He was on the sideline when asked by, Saturday after the post game presser when asked, it said Kirby said Dalen is injured. I don't think he said hurt. He said Dalen's injured. I don't know what that means. Kirby keeps his cards very close to him. So if you're asking me, I don't know. I can't give you the 100% answer, but I will say if there was a chance that Dalen was, you know, just under the, you know, maybe under a bug or illness or anything of that nature, or there was something nagging, I can guarantee you that I don't think Kirby was going to be in a huge spot to rush him back at any points. I think if you ask me, I think Kirby kind of wanted Daniel Harris and Ellis Robinson to kind of battle this out for a couple of weeks. So am I saying that Dalen Everett didn't start on purpose and that was part of the thing? And Kirby's just kind of telling the injury story. I'm not so sure of that, but what I am sure of is that we have two guys that when Dalen Everett is not in there, and that's going to be on the other side of the ball that are extremely improved. I see improvements by Daniel Harris. I see major improvements by Ellis Robinson. He's always been a guy that plays the ball extremely well, but tackling has been something. But man, he looked really good. He looked fast. Looks like he's put on a few pounds. That's good as well. And so just about as good as a job that we can do in the cornerback position on Saturday. Now we were going against ourselves on defense most of the day. I think if you go back and look at the 7 points that we gave up, there was a blatant offensive pass interference that was missed, and so granted, 45-7 is 45-7. So they scored, and you never bet on that 39.5 because we didn't cover because of that. But I think at the end of the day, like defense showed a lot of great things. But from the injury standpoint, I think that's about where we're at. The good news about some of the previous injuries that we've had going on, especially spring things of that nature. I think when you look at our running backs, didn't see much of Rod Robinson. Don't know what's going on there, but um, not going to speculate about it. But we saw almost every other running back. Now I could be wrong, but I did not see much, if any, of Rod Robinson. You saw most of everybody else got touches back there. I think on the receiving core, I think you looked at we're pretty healthy across those lines, tight ends as well. Other than Juan Gaston, I think the line looks pretty healthy. Defensive line, it was so good to see Jordan Hall out there, man. It was so good to see him active, excited, running around, and the defensive line I thought looked really well. Looked really well. But injuries, I think that's all we can account for. So hopefully we will hear Kirby's presser tomorrow and be able to have a little bit more detail on what's going on from Juan Gaston, because certainly I think definitely depending on what's going on there. I mean, you know how Georgia leans. If it's high ankle, if they kind of lean towards tightrope, get them back quick. They're not going to sit there. I don't think they're going to sit there and suffer with Juan and make him. I think you're going to see high ankle. You're probably going to see them go and try to get him back, within a month or so. And if it is, I'm speculating, but so let's look at stats, man. So obviously everybody's like, let's look at the offense. Gunnar Stockton. So 14 of 24, 190 yards passing, 2 TDs, no interceptions. I think the biggest mark for Gunnar was that he led the team in rushing. Now, if you go back and listen to the post game presser, people are like, were these a little bit more designed? Is this? I mean, you saw us in the pistol a lot. That's something to talk about, because if people want to know, well, is Mike Bobo, is he going to be creative this year? Are we going to do things to get the playmakers the ball? What is this offense going to look like? I think you can clearly see that we've adapted to the Gunnar Stockton era. We were in pistol a lot more. We were in a lot of different looks coming out of option looks, coming out of spread looks, spread option looks, things of that nature. So we've definitely gotten creative in some manners. Now, on the other side, you would look and go, is this something going to be the new norm? Is Gunnar going to be expected to, and he ran on crucial downs in some of those plays. However, I don't think two things. I don't think, one, that any of those plays were really designed with him in mind. I think Gunnar gives you the option to do some things with his legs. And I think, as he said, some things became available that he capitalized on. I think that's kind of what you can run it into in that nature. Second thing is when you look at how we diagram plays, I think you saw some I think you saw some innovation in other areas, but I think you could clearly tell we were trying to impose our will in the run era. I think Kirby used this as a game to go, hey, we want to get the run going. We want to get off to a fast start. We want to get the run established early. Obviously, want to see the defense put us in situations where we can score early. And if I have one big take, I would say from Gunner and the offense was we got off early. Um, I think Brandon Adams said it best. I would have given up anything in the second, third, and fourth quarter just to see us get off to a fast start. And it kind of told the story from the beginning. We kicked it to Marshall. Defense was incredibly smothering. First three plays, 3 and out, put us in good field position, and we capitalized running the football. And some people look at it and go, "Well, yeah, first couple of drives was a little slow." But I think just like anybody else, like we got to get going. We got to get rocking and rolling. But the one thing I did see in that fast start was the ability for the run game to not only. I don't think there were like big gap plays. It was just really good running between the tackles. I think Nate Frazier has gotten so. I mean, he already looked so much more comfortable between the tackles, and as far as counters and things of that nature. He's not so squiggly anymore. He's not so wiggly. Trying to just make. I think he's trying. Last year, sometimes he was trying to make 20 yards out of 5. And I think he ran himself into some trouble last year. And you could tell early on that the message was, look, trust what's going on, trust the holes, trust the tackles, trust the guards. Whatever the play is called for, trust that you're going to get 5 or 6, and then give us what you got. And you want to, turn it up to get some big ones. And I think, maybe Nate didn't get some of those big runs, but I think the improvement and the ability to run the ball between the tackles for those chunk yards of 5 and 6 last year, that was 1 and 2, or if not even, and he didn't even get off for positive yardage. Granted, it's Marshall, but that's all we have to go off of. So I think that kind of explains with Gunner. That kind of explains what's going on with the run game. Other notables, Ryan Puglisi did see some action. A lot of people are already talking about. They're like, I think Puglisi's better than Gunner. I don't know if you understand the fact that Puglisi is very talented. He has a great arm. He has a great NFL caliber arm. But what Puglisi lacks that Gunner gives us is Gunner is a leader. He's been around this team. This team trusts him. This team looks to him when it's going to be tough times. We're going to look for Gunner. He's a leader in the huddle. He's loud in the huddle. I think you see reserved, driving old beat up Ford, Gunner Stockton. Uh, you know, because you don't see Gunner on Instagram, Twitter, and driving his. I don't want to keep beating this to death, but his Lamborghinis and things of that nature. I think what you see is he's too calm and reserved. People say when he's on the mic. Well, that's because he knows that touchdowns and games aren't won on a microphone. They're won in the trenches and on the field. And when it counted, you could see him when he scored. He was barking. I mean, man, truly just revved up. Man, this team was excited. They were ready to play. They were revved up. And there's a new intensity in Athens. And I think the look coming out of the gates are these guys are playing for each other again. This is not the look of a team last year where it looked like it was kind of built more off of, hey, we got some superstars around us, and that's what we're going to go off of. And we have our good, great name, which is Georgia, and we're going to go off that. I think you saw a lot of continuity in our players. I think you saw a lot of them playing for each other. I think you saw a lot of them wanting to be coached. There were tough moments on the sideline, coaching moments, and players are standing there. They're nodding their head. They're understanding that it's going to make them better. I didn't see us like that a lot last year. We weren't very receptive to coaching last year, in my opinion. It wasn't blatantly obvious to where it was like not listening, walking away from the coaches, looking in the other direction. But I think what it was players that were thinking they knew more than the coaches in that aspect, and they were no longer able to be coached. So it was good to see that. We look at the running backs. Man, you can say a lot about it being just Marshall, but you could tell that our game plan was really to establish the run. A lot of touches by a lot of backs. Frazier, 11 touches for 47 yards. He had the long of a 12-yard run. Dwight Phillips in the mix to break out this year. I mean, he is a speedster. I saw a 10-4-40. He's been clocked out. You saw him bust the 18-yard run to get us into the end zone, 60 yards on the day on five touches and a touchdown. Gunnar Stockton had 2 touchdowns, and Dwight had the other one on the TD run. And then Chauncey Bowens, man, Chauncey Bowens looked good, man. He looked everything that everybody talked about over the summer. I liked Chauncey. He ran with a lot of poise, a lot of heart. Looked really good, and I am just now seeing. Yeah, Roger Robinson did not get any touches. If he did make it in the game, he did not get a touch, intentional touch. Bo Walker saw some carries from Bo Walker late game. Not much there, but ran with some good intensity. He had that 8-yard run he ran really hard. Puglisi got in there with a couple of rushes, and then Josh McCray got 2 carries in there somewhere. I missed that 5-yard run. I don't know if Josh McCray is still battling from behind. I think this was a depth chart of camp. I think it's like, look, these guys we're going to play in this lineup coming out of camp because they've seen the most touches, they've seen the most plays, and they deserve to be on the field right now and seeing what they can bring from the practice field to the game field. And then Cash Jones had the 1 carry for the 1 yard in the rushing game. And Dylan Bell had the negative play that I didn't really like that play call, but I don't want to really go too negative on it. And then the exciting part of the receiver room, man, Zachariah Branch. I mean, we talked about him all offseason, but Zachariah Branch is exciting. He is. We knew he was going to be exciting. He's been talked about a lot over the spring, over the summer. He's come in. He's worked really hard. He's going to be a dude every single game. He's somebody that you can get the ball into space and he can just do things. And he did it. I mean, 3 catches. It seemed like not a lot of catches, but he busted the 47-yarder for a touchdown. 3 catches, 95 yards. What a showing by Zach Branch. Dealt 2 receptions, 33 yards. What's impressive is 19 receptions through, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so 13 different targets. 13 different targets had at least 1 reception. Now, granted, we had the backups in late, but I mean, Zach Branch dealt Colby Young, Elias Williams. If you remember Elias catching the freshman caught the one for the touchdown. Thomas Blackshear, it was good to see him catch one. Cash Jones, Jacoby White caught a ball. Chauncey Bowens caught 2 out of the backfield. London Humphreys with the TD in the back of the end zone. Tyler Williams had a reception for 7 yards. Lawson Lucky, Dylan Bell. I mean, man, we spread the ball around, and the receiver room is exciting. Now, switching over to defense really quick. So defense, I thought the things we did well on defense, and granted, Marshall didn't show a lot on offense to really get excited about. But I will tell you what I did see was we talked about some non-negotiables, top 3 things. One of those was getting to the quarterback, causing havoc, causing things to break up in the backfield. I think our defensive line did a really good job of that. I think you saw Christian Miller. I think you saw Jordan Hall. You saw you just saw a little, a lot. Xavier McLeod was big in there. Elijah Griffith. All these guys had tackles as well. Totaling. I mean, obviously the linebacking core led in tackles, but when you look at the amount of pressure at times that the quarterback was on from the defensive line penetration, it was something to be seen. Now, granted, once again, it was Marshall, but I liked what I saw. I liked the great technique. I liked the fact that, I mean, you look at that game last year, 2 years, I would say, in a row. And the thing you would scratch your head about is some of these games that Georgia was supposed to win, one of the big things that we talked about a couple of weeks back was we want Georgia to win the games that they're supposed to win by the amount of points they're supposed to win and not allow these crazy yards here or there or this crazy scoring line for no reason. So I thought defensively, some of the biggest things was the havoc plays that we caused with the defensive line, the blitz schemes. I thought Chris Cole has put on 20 pounds, and he looks like he's grown another inch, and he's a man among boys. I thought he was everywhere, and I think he's going to be very interesting to watch. I loved, Raylan Wilson is coming into his own. 7 tackles, 6 of them solo, 2 for loss. A name, crazily enough, we mentioned this name, but Zachariah Branch's brother that came over to Georgia from USC. Zion Branch led the team with 7 solo tackles. So he definitely saw a little more playing time in the game, a lot later on in the game. But yeah, The Elijah Griffin, man, I saw him get some extremely crazy push. Sometimes it was like, man, you give this guy 2 or 3 more games, and he will be seasoned well before you know it. Names that saw action. Xavier McLeod, I talked about that. Chris Jones, you saw flying around the ball a little bit. Tackles from almost 20 plus 20 plus defensive people. Xavier McLeod, Cole Spear got one. I think that was actually on special teams. Chris Jones, Kyron Jones, DeMello Jones, all these guys had tackles. Elijah Griffin, Taylor. That was on. We missed Taylor, by the way, on a deep ball that I thought could have hit. We just didn't lead him enough. Zayden Walker um, is got in there. Dinkins, I thought Dinkins looked really good, man. He's a guy that came in the spring, so he's behind, but he's been talked about a little bit more. So interesting to hear that. Darren Ikenagbon, Justin Green, Ellis Robinson had a tackle for a loss. Justin Williams, Jeremy Bell, all these guys getting tackles. So really good showing. We had um, Peyton Woodring obviously hit the 43-yard field goal. So all in all, when you look at Georgia and you look at the things we were able to do running the ball, but I'm going to give you a key take before we go into around the SEC and what I think we can look forward to against Austin P as well is I think this was a game of um, I think Georgia is not wanting to show their hands. I think they see the assignment, and I'm not saying that Kirby doesn't you know he doesn't prepare for a Marshall or an Austin P. He does. But I think he sees the assignment, man. He sees Austin P, he sees Marshall, and he sees Tennessee and Knoxville. It's going to be a tough game. Tennessee, we're going to talk about them here in a second when we go through it, but Tennessee played pretty well against Syracuse. I thought they were one of the, as we go over the power rankings, you're going to see where I have them in the power rankings. And so I think we didn't want to show much. I think we wanted to be as vanilla as possible, but also to establish the run. That was our goal with that. Establish the run, get off to a fast start, and the defense to just show that it can impose their will as well on stopping the run and causing havoc. All of these things, huge accomplishments. And I think the only, I guess, downplay to the 7 points getting us was the fact that it happened, right? And the way it happened. But if you go back and look at the tape, it was a blatant offensive pass interference call. Is what it is, and we took it. But all in all, first week, it's exactly what you want to see from Georgia, in my opinion. I think I give us a B plus around that grade, maybe an A. It's just nobody's at an A right now. There's a lot of things that we can continue to improve on. So, all in all, moving on to Austin P. If you haven't already done so, please like and follow us on Dogs Down South on YouTube, Dogs Down South on Facebook. We're also on Twitter as well as TikTok. If you haven't already done so, follow us on TikTok. Definitely going live over there, and a ton of clips over there and a ton of content you can follow us on. But our normal weekly show is on Wednesday. We'll be previewing Austin P, as well as looking at things that Georgia needs to continue to do to get into the front chunk of the season, as we'll see ourselves in the next 3 games playing Austin P at home. We go on the road to Knoxville, and then we'll have a week off, and then we welcome Alabama, who didn't have such a great day on Saturday. We're going to talk a little bit about. But all in all, can't wait to get started on Austin P, and we're going to do it soon. So make sure you join us on Wednesday night, or say around the same time. We usually get going between 7 and 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights. But without any further ado, let's hop into our around the SEC. So let's look into. We're going to do around the SEC and our overreactions. I'm gonna before we go through game by game, I'm gonna give you my quick minute reactions to my 3 most overreacting moments, and maybe some people are overreacting more than me. So first off, congratulations to Florida State. Man, what a different team from last year. 2-10 last year. They come in and they're able to at home grab a win. Obviously, Mike Norvell hitting the reset button, getting a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, shifting some things around, going in the portal, grabbing some players, Castellanos, revamping some defense. There was this running back by committee room that looks really good. What blew my mind was the inability for Alabama to get a run game going and the inability to stop the run. That is something that has been Alabama football for a long, long time. I mean, you look at Georgia, and it's no secret that Kirby doesn't want to run the football and play great defense. Number one, stopping the run. And so he gets that obviously from the Nick Saban tree. That didn't happen for Alabama. My overreaction and concern. I don't think Alabama is slipping to where people are slipping them to. Did they not look great? There was avenues of the game that I went, could Jam Miller have helped this? I don't know. I saw some inconsistencies in a line that, in my opinion, has one of the better lines, not only in the SEC but in college football. And the inability to stop the run, which was shocking because I did pick this defense to be very, very good this year. And maybe Florida State's just much better than they were in the previous years. Maybe it wasn't a lack of, maybe it was talent on talent and maybe they were better. I don't believe that. But I do believe there's a little bit of an edge, and people are saying it, that the Alabama of old is not built around the Kalen DeBoer demeanor. They're used to Nick Saban. They're used to they respond to getting in, coaches getting in their face. Kalen DeBoer is a little bit more laid back. I haven't seen him really emotional and, for lack of better words, pissed off at all, except for this past weekend where he clearly was saying, "Hey, we got to get back to Alabama football. We got to play." I don't know if we've ever established Alabama football under Kalen DeBoer yet. So I don't know if that's possible yet because I don't know what they've been told. But I do know this: Ty Simpson was um, mediocre at best. The run game was abysmal. The tackling was not Alabama tackling. Ryan Grubb, man, we managed to throw the ball about 40 some odd times. I didn't really see anything that put Ty Simpson in a better position to make good throws, and I just didn't see it. Ryan Williams looked defeated at times. He did not look like a Heisman candidate at all. He didn't look like the hype. Matter of fact, he looks a little bit like he's been humbled a little bit, and he might want to get back to playing football and less on. I mean, I see him on TikTok a lot. Maybe he needs to get back to trying to help lead this team to playing winning football a little bit than going live on TikTok and talking about how great he is with all his chains on and things of that nature. I'm just telling you like it is. This is not a overreaction from me from how I'm explaining Alabama looked. I do think it's an overreaction by people saying that Alabama's done. I mean, I think Alabama will get itself together. There's a long season ahead. They have everything in front of them. That's not an SEC loss, so they can still go. They can still win the SEC, although it's a tough road now. That was not an expected loss on the docket, but at this point, they're still their goals are still in front of them. The other overreaction I have is Texas. My overreaction is not an overreaction. I think I was pretty correct on my call on Texas. Arch Manning, this is a lot of hype. This is a big noon kickoff. His first true away game start at the Shoe, and man, what a defense that Matt Patricia and Ohio State put out there. They looked really good, man. And I'm not going to dig into Ohio State a lot for sake of time, but I thought maybe Alabama and how those two things collide is Julian Sand should be that quarterback for Alabama this year. If he doesn't leave and go to Ohio State when Nick Saban leaves, I think Julian Sand is the quarterback playing against Florida State, but he's not. He's playing against Texas, and he did everything he needed to do. Now, Texas, I think, won the rushing game. Texas won the defensive. Uh, did they win the defensive? I think they did their job on defense. I think I think Sark play calling may have been a little bit vanilla. I think you're not seeing, a lot of the book. I thought I'd see more of the playbook with Arch there. He's been there for, this is his second year there? Is it third? I don't know. It seems like Arch's been there forever. So why does he not feel as confident? I heard like we're gonna let him get in there and just, grip it and rip it. I didn't see a lot of that. I saw a lot of just when it was time to make great throws. Go back, look at every single throw from Arch. I think there's a very low percentage of good throws. Anything across the middle and anything short was always sidearmed and just way out of pocket. So I didn't see play from a Heisman contender, and I definitely didn't see play from a Arch Manning who is predicted to win the Heisman and go straight to the draft. I think he's got a lot to work on, and he may bounce out. Like I said about Alabama, it's a long season. Their goals are in front of them, and it's going to be fine because they're going to beat up on a few teams here in the next few weeks before they go into the swamp against Florida. But the realism is happening for Texas right now because they go into Florida and by chance lose, and they start out the beginning of the season 2-2, they're 2-2, and they haven't seen Georgia yet, and they haven't seen some of the other teams they're going to play, and that could spell disaster for Texas because I don't know if a 9-3 Texas team gets in there. Not if they don't look good at 9-3. So I mean, if they're just hardcore battles, maybe. But those are my big overreactions, and I don't think they're overreactions. I think they're overreactions in terms of if people think Texas and Alabama are done. I don't think they're done. So yeah, so let's hop through the scores real quick. We'll hop through my power rankings, and then we'll get off. We always try to do the overreaction show. We try to keep under 30 minutes. I'm a little bit over your time already, but I'm going to get in and get out. 61-6, Missouri beat Central Arkansas. I thought there's nothing really that Missouri could show. I think Central Arkansas quit after the third touchdown. Bo Perbula, did he look good? I don't know. It's Central Arkansas. The run game happened. Defense happened. No test yet. They'll have a better test next week. Big win on Friday night. Auburn goes in and beats Baylor. Jackson Arnold, his legs look great. He had some decent throws. The thing I think struggled for Auburn, I think the secondary looked a little weird. I think tackling was a question mark for Auburn. I think defense is still a question mark. Offense, I think they got some things cooking. Now Auburn is a team to beat in the SEC now, in my opinion. I just talked about Texas and Ohio State. I think biggest thing Texas has to go back and look at is can Sarkisian dial some things up so that he can get Arch comfortable back there. I don't know what offensive playbook will get Arch comfortable, but whatever it was not that. He was not comfortable on the road in the shoe at Big Noon kickoff. Just not a good showing for Texas. Not a good showing for. They didn't score until 4 minutes left in the game. So LSU, Clemson, man, LSU goes into Clemson, gets a hard fought win. I think I picked LSU, but I said Nussmeier had to show up. I love the aggressive wide receivers that were brought into the portal. Defense looked really, really good with Weeks, Pyburn, that secondary. Man, LSU looks real. LSU looks like probably right now for me, number one in my power rankings. And remember, my power rankings later on are going to be based off of week one, not of who is what did they do last year? What are they getting ready to do? No, it's off of week one. So it'll be interesting. Georgia Marshall, we talked about them already. Alabama, Florida State. I mean, here's the thing. I said it, the inability to run the football, the inability to get some pressure off of Ty Simpson. It looks like they were pinning their ears back a lot on him. The assignment was, you could tell the assignment was to make him uncomfortable, and they did. I have not seen that happen to Alabama in a long, long, long time. Man, haven't seen that happen to Alabama in a long time. Florida, Long Island University, not much of a challenge. I mean, could we say everybody looked good? I mean, this is a less of a challenge than Marshall and Georgia. But 55-0, they show up at home, get the win. Don't know much about Florida still yet. We know they took the field. We know they played. They played harder defenses obviously during the week and during fall camp. Oklahoma comes out. What do we see? We saw their offense produce against Illinois State like they were supposed to. We saw the defense do their job. That's about it. John Mateer comes out. He's as advertised. He spins it really well. The run game was there. It was a complete game for them. We'll see them this week against Michigan. I don't know how much if Michigan comes in and plays like they did this past weekend, I might have Oklahoma favored a little bit in this game. I just think at home, Mateer, they looked better in my opinion, even though they played maybe a little less good of an opponent. But at this point, give me 3-7 going towards Oklahoma as we sit here. Texas A&M, man, it was weird for a little bit. I can't say that UTSA didn't make this a game in some avenues, but did what they had to do. Was home, Kyle Field, the 12th man. I mean, everything. What can you say? I mean, Marcel Reed, they did some things right, but the defense looked sketchy at sometimes, and offense didn't click the whole game. Definitely a better opponent in UTSA than some people played, but they got the job done. Ole Miss, Georgia State. I mean, Austin Simmons, a couple of turnovers. Man, to be determined with them. But I knew they were going to do this. No surprise here. Tennessee, Joey Aguilar goes in. good showing against Syracuse. I actually had Syracuse picked an upset to my lack of knowledge on Syracuse this year. Didn't know they had about a 70 to 80% roster turnover over there between portal and between graduating. So obviously not a horrible showing for Fran Brown coming in and playing Tennessee, but I think this still gives a little bit to be desired from Tennessee. I still don't know what they really have. I saw the three-headed run game. Big thing with the run game and Heupel's offense. You got to have it because if not, then this is going to be a team that's relied upon to hit passes and to go fast. And if they can't do those things, um, then it puts the defense in huge predicaments. I think the defense is a little bit behind last year's defense, but still, good, I mean, good showing for Tennessee. Interested, their test obviously comes in a couple weeks. We'll know what Tennessee's holding. Mississippi State takes care of business against Southern Miss. I mean, what do you say? You were good to see the offense. What I will say about Mississippi State, it was good to see them run the football. I think they've gotten into this year of going. We got to run the football a little more. We can't be all air and no legs at all. Kentucky, Toledo, pretty embarrassing. This is a pretty embarrassing thing. I did not think it would be this close. It shouldn't have been this close. So SEC Kentucky at home playing Toledo. Toledo's out of their mind, terrible. This was not a good showing. I think this was a game out of every game you have this year that you needed to win convincingly. You didn't do so. I watched this game a little bit. It was horrible. It was boring. Calzada looks as bad as ever. The one bright spot I would say was Kentucky had some run game. I forget the guy's name, but I think Seth McGowan. I mean, he was the only bright spot, but uh, Kentucky's got to get some things together, or it's going to be an embarrassing year for them. Just not good in my humble opinion. Arkansas, Alabama, A&M. It's Alabama and A&M, but Taylor Green looked really good, man. I mean, he looked good. I'm interested to see Arkansas against some competition. Vanderbilt, 45-3, Charleston Southern. There was no excitement in this game. I think the only excitement was Diego Pavia's half his family getting arrested after the game. I mean, his brothers go out and party hardy after their win against Charleston Southern, which you should be able to, but obviously stirred up some controversy. I think they both got arrested. So they got into some mess, and so that ended up being the storyline over the fact that Vanderbilt beat Charleston Southern 45-3. Then obviously the game yesterday, South Carolina takes care of Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech showed some hints of greatness, but I think in the end, too much Lenora Sellers, too much Nick Harbor. Man, he's so fast, so tall. I mean, improvements in the wide receiver area. It took him a while to get going. I didn't see crazy numbers for Lenora Sellers. I thought it was solid, but nothing. I mean, Lenora Sellers did Lenora Sellers. I mean, he's not going to be he's not going to spin it 35 times for 400 yards, but he does give you the option to be very good with his legs, to make some plays and make you to respect his legs so that they can do something in the run. I thought Faison looked good. Obviously, you can see why they were so pumped about getting him back or getting him in there, and he was a difference maker. But all in all, this was a very defensive minded game through three quarters, and so too much South Carolina towards the end. So with that being said, want to end the show today, overreaction Monday, with my power rankings. So these are updated power rankings as of week 1, and this is just how I think it is. This is after the games we saw. Has nothing to do with last year and where they finished in the AP last year in the college football playoff and where I have projected them to go in the college football playoffs. It has everything to do with just where are they at right now. If they were playing on a neutral field, where would they win at, and who would be the better team on a neutral field? So obviously coming in at 16, I got Kentucky. Just not a good showing versus Toledo. They got Ole Miss next week. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to grab one there. So it's a good win, but managing, to win a one-score game, it shouldn't be dismissed and it shouldn't be overlooked that Kentucky is bad. Mississippi State, it was close. It shouldn't have been close. The ability to run the football you know, was big. A 21-point outburst in the third quarter. Rushing attack. Davin Booth, Fluff Bothwell. I love that name, Fluff Bothwell. Man, just kind of carried the load for this team in some areas. Is that going to hurt them going forward, or was that the plan all in general? But nonetheless, I got them at 15. They got Arizona State next week, and so definitely will be tested. See where they're at. Arkansas, got them here. Slow start, but Taylor Green looks really good. 52-7. 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Just look good. Look good. They had a little bit more competition next week. They go to Arkansas State in Little Rock. This is a game that is a rivalry, and they'll be predicted to win, but they need to win it. I got Vanderbilt at 13 here. Um, Pavia, he only ran 8 times, 44 yards. That was a good sign. That means, they were able to do some things in the passing game. He didn't need to run a lot. Threw for 275 yards, 3 scores, which is what you want to see from Vandy. Don't know if we saw much. Like I said, saw more from uh, the crime spree per se, call it afterwards than Vanderbilt. So I got them at 13. They got Virginia Tech next week. That'll be Virginia Tech showed some grit about them. 12. Some people have Alabama dropping to 15. I've seen a couple of people that have them dropping that low. I got them at 12. Obviously, they got Louisiana Monroe coming up. They got a beat up game and take out the tension on them. Bullied by Gus Malzahn and Florida State. Womack's defense was supposed to be one of the best units, in college football this year. Offensive line was a strength, but it wasn't supposed to be a strength, but it wasn't. Concerning for Kalen DeBoer. I got him here at 12. 11, I got Auburn. Let me say this is a little bit low, but you know, they deserve a lot of credit. Week 1, going into Baylor, Jackson Arnold looked good. Should have been named. Should have been named to like some kind of Lamar Jackson type of award for. I mean, his legs were great. Defense made some big plays. Sawyer Robertson made some good runs, but for the most part, they kept him in check. One concern is the passing game and the inability to. I think defense needs to improve in the passing game. So it's like, when you look at what Georgia was trying to do and stopping the run and running the football, I think Auburn needs to be concerned is if they have to be dependent on for Jackson Arnold to throw the ball and to defend the pass. It's something to keep a lookout. But they do get to beat up on Ball State this weekend, so a little bit different of a week for them. Missouri, I got them at 10. Don't know much about Missouri, but I got them at 10. They got Kansas this week. It'll be a little bit bigger of a test. Quarterback battle was decided by injury, so he looked good in the first quarter. Unfortunately, injury. Sam Horn suffered a leg injury. Sorry, I got kind of mixed up there. I was reading some of my notes, but Perbula was the guy. I think Perbula was the guy all along. Step in the right direction. Pretty simple. They get Kansas this week. A little bit more of a task for them. Oklahoma, I got them at 9 in my power rankings. We'll learn more about Oklahoma against Michigan. Defense was as advertised. Offense looked good. Game day's coming to Norman, and so we'll see where they stay. 8, I got Tennessee. I think injuries were a concern coming into Syracuse, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Very impressed with Heupel, the offense, the run game always helps his offense. I think it did enough for Aguilar to be able to get the ball to the playmakers, and so this turned out well for them in a down Syracuse year this year. They'll get to beat up on East Tennessee State next week. 7, I got South Carolina. They get to beat up on South Carolina State this week, but as I spoke about earlier, nothing really crazy exciting about this game. Virginia Tech is pretty. I thought Virginia Tech fielded a pretty good defense. Offense a little lackluster. Sellers is going to need more help. Faison might be the guy. Harbor, they're going to continue to need playmakers to step up around them for this to go up. But I still have South Carolina at 7. Texas A&M. This was a tough one because I had Texas A&M and then flipped at one time. Nervy moments in this game. Confused by the use of the running game. I don't know why, and it could have been a moment like Georgia had where it's like, all right, well, maybe they're just trying to work on the passing game because it's in their DNA to run the football. I mean, Le'Veon Moss 3 times for 19 yards. For those keeping score at home, that's a 7-point yard per carry average for Owens, and then he didn't touch the ball more after that. I just think they need to run the football, but maybe they were trying to see where they were at with Marcel Reed. Who knows? 5, I got Florida. What do we know about Florida? We don't know much. They played Long Island. They do get a test versus USF this week. Obviously, USF had a home game, came out, was the underdog, and beat Boise State. That's a huge win for USF. And the goalish era, I saw a good-looking offense from USF. We knew they're going to have a good offense, but what I did see as well was a good defense from USF. This will be a test for Florida at home. but I got them at 5. 4, I got Ole Miss here for the time being. Still don't know much. They get Kentucky this week. Um, Austin Simmons looked pretty good. His first start, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns. Um, you know, uh, not. I mean, it's Georgia State, right? The big competition and where you're gonna see Ole Miss either thrive or dive is gonna be this weekend against Kentucky. Although I don't think that's gonna be much competition either. I only dropped Texas to third. I think Texas right here. They lose to a good Ohio State team on the road, but disappointed by Arch Manning's performance. Disappointed by Steve Sarkisian's play calling. Um, I just think it's another thing kind of I look for, and like I don't think they had any experiment on the table. So why are their experience? They're playing. That's their kind of their Super Bowl for opening games of the year. One they're going to be able to put in front of the committee and go, "This is why we're the number one team in the nation." They got stamped with number one team in the nation. I don't think they're going to. They definitely won't be come AP time. I think that will be Ohio State. The AP will drop tomorrow. I think. So I just think all in all, defense showed up. I think run game showed up. I just don't think Sarkisian and Arch showed up. 2, I got Georgia here. Once again, we know some things. We can dive deep and we can see the productivity and what went well and improvements to be made still. But the win over Marshall, 45-7. They have Austin P this week. Man, I'm not going to give like the Heisman or anything like that, but Stockton has one more week to gain confidence. Um, but 4 total touchdowns, 2 passing, 2 rushing. Um, and I think this getting the ball to the playmakers, man. There's no pressure on him. And I think I've said that. But getting the ball to the playmakers was huge. Big test coming against Tennessee and Rocky Top. And then my top team, just because of who they played and the win they got, was LSU. Goes in to Clemson, gets the big win, gets the I say just the cat off their back type thing, maybe the tiger off their back type thing for openers. They get the win. They definitely live up to have garnered they're a title contender now. Um, at the end of the day, I just you know best performance by Garrett Nussmeier I've seen in a long time in this offense. He flashed. Caden Durham, Baron Brown. Baron Brown was robbed of a touchdown. I think it could have been a 2-touchdown win. The real star of the show was the defense, though. Man, Blake Baker. I said a lot about this defense, man. But um, if their defense keeps playing like this, I think the team you got to look for that in place of that team where you kind of looked and you said, all right, it's been Georgia and Texas. It's been, there's been remnants of those 2 teams in it a lot, but you got to start. I mean, I have LSU as a playoff team, but I think they're a huge contender. I had them around that 9-3, 10-2 mark, but I don't know, man. They played really well. They did it on the road. They did it against a good Clemson team, and kudos to Brian Kelly. I will say this: if Brian Kelly has an actual coaching moment that he has to come in for, this could take the team down. But I think team wise, LSU looks really good. That's going to wrap it up for Overreaction Monday. So if you haven't already done so, I will say it again. Go like and follow us on all of our podcasting platforms. Looking so forward to this week against Austin P. Just another week to get better. Tune in Wednesday night as we have our normal weekly show. Hopefully, Richman and Fish will both be able to join me, and we will get some picks in. We'll talk preview of Austin P, maybe preview a little bit of Tennessee. We can look forward. Kirby and them won't, but and get the week going strong. So no big overreactions other than Texas and Alabama. I think they just have to have a bounce back. I think for them, they kind of have to have one of those weeks like a lot of teams wanted to have against teams that they weren't so high on if they could win or lose that, but how they were going to play, how they were going to gauge themselves as a team. And they need to see that against 2 teams that are not going to really, I don't think, give them a run for their money for the W or the L. But I think they need to see some things happen in their defense and offensive strategy and schemes to go well, to kind of predict how they go for the rest of the year. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Can't wait to join you Wednesday night. But for now, you guys have a great evening. And as always on the Dogs Down South podcast, go Dogs.